Mayor Begay has been working to bring employers to Evergreen. She has secured contracts with the United States Postal Service to bring a sorting facility to the community and worked with Nicolet Bay Transit's GM Carl Jackson to bring Trams into Evergreen. Further, she secured funding from the council to build the first public library in Nicolet Bay County. It'll be built right about here. Most residents are enthusiastic about all the new employers. The employers pay taxes that reduce the burden on their residential properties, and they bring jobs, which everyone needs. And now that there are more jobs than employees, wages have been growing. Residents are decidedly less enthusiastic about new housing, though. They say the new housing will change the character of the city and bring crime, or they're okay with housing, but just not the places that the city has proposed it. It's inappropriate. To combat this, Mayor Begay begins telling residents that housing is where jobs go to sleep at night. You can't have more jobs without housing to support those jobs. And it's corny, it's silly, but it diffuses their arguments, at least in the eyes of enough council members, to get them to agree to more and denser housing in the scant remaining land within the city. In today's episode, we're going to build the post sorting facilities, the post office, the library, the tram depot, and the tram network all in downtown Evergreen. We'll also finish the park near City Hall and respond to development pressures by adding new housing in the downtown area. And if you like episodes where we get a lot done, please hit the like button. And if you wish that we would slow down and deep dive on one topic, hit the like button for that too. And in either case, please comment to let me know which option you went with. The engagement helps increase the reach of the video and really helps me figure out how to create better videos for you. Hello, welcome back to City Planner Plays, where we are building the city of Evergreen in Nicolet Bay, and I'm really excited about today's episode. We're going to accomplish a lot, but we're going to make it look really good too. And I know that I'm planning on building some things that might be kind of controversial. First of all, this postal service facility. I know we don't have a lot of land here, but I do think that this is an excellent location for this particular use. The reason why is really twofold. First of all, we're right off this arterial connection here. The couplet is an arterial. And second of all, we're close to all of the density in this area. And that makes this an ideal location. So we're going to place that first. Very good. And I like this location for it. It's centrally located. You're able to reach this arterial quickly and then get to our post office, which we're going to place right now as well. And this gives us an opportunity to get rid of this building, which I've never liked, and we're going to place it right here. Now, the problem I have with this building is really twofold. I've already removed one of them, and that is the parking that was in the front. There's supposed to be parking stalls right here. I used Bob to get rid of those. We're going to move this building right up against this theater, which is going to make this feel like it's a new building built in the old style, considering you can see that there used to be a building butting right up against this. But then we've got some space right here, and I think that we can find some really nice commercial assets to fit this well. We cannot escape the vapor vibes, so I guess it's coming back. So I'm just gonna butt these up pretty close to one another, and then get those to touch the post office. And then this looks kind of weird because they're a different color, but this is easy enough to fix. We'll just click on this outside of Move It and go into our color changer, and now we can pick our preferred color. Now I'm gonna copy this color, click on the next one and just paste it, and now they're the same color. This will make it easy for me to line this up. There we go. And we've got a couple more fixes. We've got a pedestrian connection there. We'll move that over. And there we go. Looking good. Now again, Alt B, and I'll show you what I did. I just took these parking spaces and I removed the probability to 0. Otherwise, there are 3 parking stalls that are basically right on the sidewalk. Not necessarily the best location for them, so we took those down. And now it looks so much better. And with the rest of the buildings today, I think we're going to do something very similar. I like the way that looks. All right, so now we've got our post-service facility over here, and this, we've got to do something better. First of all, let's get rid of the parking here as well. So this one has the invisible parking space and then the actual parking space as well. You got to get rid of both, otherwise you'll still see parking here. The nice thing about this is now we can pull this building right up near the front of the road. We'll need to make some pedestrian connections across here or something, because we want to use this parking as a shared parking lot between these two facilities. In the front of here, I'm thinking that it would be nice to have just a couple of apartments, but I want to go with something that feels natural in this area. So let's click on this panel so we have our different sorting options. I'm going to go to building level, and I'm going to sort between 2 and 4. And I feel like this is really the sweet spot. We'll go into our high density buildings and you can find the best assets here. We're gonna go with 4x4 buildings. So you can see that we're really narrowing this down, and now there's only a few to choose from. And I want a building that I can smash together and make it feel like we've got really one large substantial building. I think that this tenement right here is probably the one. So I'm going in to move it, just hitting M, and I just want to line these up nicely. If we zoom in, we can find the seam of the windows right about here, and I just want that to feel very natural. Now here's the other thing about this. So if we click on this, we'll get out of move it, hit M again. Whoa, still got it selected. And now we click on this and you can change the color, but here's what's changing. It's actually the window outline. So that's the interesting thing about the color changer is sometimes it's the building, sometimes it's a feature on the building. So we're just gonna copy and paste that over. And I like the idea of having the black accents on the building. And now this feels like a cohesive structure. Now there is one thing that I wish were different about this. I wish that we had a little bit more space, maybe for a walking path in between or some landscaping. So we're gonna do that. We'll just, maybe some landscaping. We'll just back it out just a little bit. And then around the base of the building, we've got to do something. So today I really want to focus on this. Let's make places that feel human. Let's make places that feel special. So I'll tell you what, this isn't a huge change, but I think that if you were sitting here and you were on your porch, that little bit of landscaping there would mean the world to you. It's what would make this feel like a really nice patio as opposed to a prison, because that's kind of a prison looking fence. And it would also prevent you from constantly seeing the trucks, even if just a little bit. Okay, so we've got to do more around here. First of all, we got these buildings. We never did anything over here. Why don't we do a little bit of decorating? It doesn't need to be fancy. All right, now I want to run this parking lot around the building. So we are going to pop on through here and send a service road right up here. Now we're going to need to come through here, and I just want to turn off all of the markings, and then we'll need to finesse this just a bit to make sure that it's still functional. Okay, that was really rough, but it seems to have done the trick. Folks are using it. Right here, we've got Scooter from Kate Chapman driving around, and just, whoa, Kate, you got to slow down. That is a dangerous maneuver right there. All right, so I'm pretty pleased with that, and I think it's time to move on to our trams. So similar to the post sorting facility, I think my placement of the tram depot is going to be very controversial, but just hear me out. I think this is going to make a lot of sense. So I want to place the tram depot right here, which I know you're probably looking thinking, Phil, there's like 8 blocks of downtown left. This is closer to the water than anything else you've built. And here you are building a tram depot. And this is another loud thing. You built housing next to this loud thing right here. Let's double check and see how that turned out for us. Pretty darn good. It's okay. And I think it's going to be okay over here as well. So we're going to get rid of this road, call it a little mulligan, and then we'll go into node controller and just eliminate that. So now our parking lot looks the way it should. And we're going to need to reorient this a bit. I think we're going to need to pull this back, and we might need to even do something more extreme there. But for the time being, we're going to go with that and see how that works for us. My main concern is that we've got these parking stalls, and fitting new stalls in there is going to be a real burden. That said, our tram depot is going to go right here. Now, I'm going to place it here for a moment, but this isn't our final destination by any means. What we're going to do is come back here. I'm going to send in a temporary road. Let me find my rural roads. So this is one option. I could just flip this around and leave it here, but I want to go a little bit beyond that. And here's my rationale. I really would like to have some buildings fronting this road to hide what's going to be a fairly ugly back end of this building. So this is not a pretty back end. What we're looking at is a brick wall that would feel fairly unsafe. So if we were going to place this back end against the road, as the planner, I would recommend some sort of windows to really create the sense of having eyes on the street, to create the sense of people potentially looking out at you. Otherwise, this becomes a safety concern. And you can address safety with police, you can address safety with neighborhood watches, but the best way to address safety, in my mind, is by designing buildings in a way that makes them safer. And this is not going to be possible in City Skylines. So the way that we're going to address that is to actually attach a building to this blank wall and make this feel like a part of a mixed use development. It's going to be a better way of handling this, in my opinion. So let's rotate this around. And the best thing that we just did is we severed this building from a road. So now we can do whatever we want with it. It's still in line perfectly with this road, but it's severed from any roadway network. So that works well for us. So going through the comments, I asked if we should have offices in this park area, and it was pretty overwhelming. No offices in the park. And you know what? I kind of agree. We've got some plans and we're going to implement those plans today, but we still need offices. We have our college and we're educating young professionals that need jobs. So what we're going to do is build an office space here. And I want to have a strong corner presence. So again, we're going to continue to come through and select our buildings individually. I'm going to be honest with you. I've really enjoyed this build in a way that I love my other builds that are ongoing, but I've been having so much fun with this one. And part of it that has really brought new life to City Skylines for me is the ability to select these buildings. Now, initially, I was very skeptical and thought, wow, this is just, I don't have the creative vision to select buildings. I'm not an architect. I'm a planner. But here's the thing. You just get a sense of what feels and looks good to you. And eventually things just kind of fall in place for you. And that's kind of where it is for me. So I can just kind of come through here and look around and I know what feels good. I want this to feel like one building again. And this doesn't do it. This doesn't do it either. But I'll tell you what, this building right here, this looks like it could. And if we look at it right now, I just placed two of these and they already look like one building. I can move them together like that. This feels like one building now. And look at how well it meshes with this building. Now here's the one thing. If I had to live with just one mod, just one, it'd be Move It. You can do so much with it. It's so powerful. But there's one thing it's missing. When you create something like this, the ability to move it around is just, it's the only thing that's missing. And there we go. That is about as perfect as I can get it. So what I like about this is now the building has a corner presence. We got to change the colors. Again, you can see there's just a slight variation here. I just noticed this is level 3. This is level 2. This makes me nervous. I'm going to downgrade this corner building to be the same as these two. So hopefully this will prevent this building from abandoning, because I think that's ultimately what would happen if we didn't make some sort of adjustment. All right, I want to connect up here and we'll make that tram connection right there. Feeling really good about this, but we've got to do something to improve the street presence here. Again, this is a gigantic wall without any windows except for at the top, really utilitarian. So we are going to plant some evergreens along here. Before we do that though, I feel like we need to block this off. This is really unsightly. And if I were the planner working on this project, I would absolutely recommend some sort of receptacle or some sort of fencing here to block this off. And now we'll come back through, look for some evergreens, some pine trees, and just place these densely along here. Now we've got to fix this parking lot, and I'm a little concerned about how this is going to work. Like I mentioned, we're going to disconnect this here. Now, this does present some problems. If you were trying to park in here, obviously your concern would be that you are forced to go down a one-way. So you likely have most of the traffic circulating out this way. Maybe not super desirable, but you could take a U-turn here. Hopefully that would be the route that people would go in the future. That said, we can only work with what we have right now. I'm going to try to straighten this out a little bit. And now here's the part that I've been the most concerned about. I don't know how I get new parking spaces to line up nicely in this area. And not only that, our accessible parking is kind of weird now. I'm going to try to just eliminate the parking stalls and then we'll redo this. So I'm curious. I think this might be just buildings. So I'm going to get rid of nodes and segments and see what I can select. There we go. Easy as that. And now we can start from scratch. That'll make this just a ton easier. Okay, and it's not completely perfect, but it's pretty good. We got some EV charging here. And you may recall that in the past, I lamented that when I would hit Control X to unbind from the parking lot snapper, I would spin a bit. And I figured out the problem, and that is in Acme, that is actually binded to rotate. So I had to change that a bit, but it really is something you probably should do if you're going to use that snapping. And now, since we're over here already, I'm just going to change some of the trees through here and add in a bit of landscaping. There we go. We're also going to add in just a little pedestrian connection. I feel like we really need to think about these because all the workers here, we've got 3 parking stalls, and those are likely for fleet vehicles. So all of these workers here are going to need to park over here. Once we add the tram tracks, there's no parking on the road, and we're going to send trams up and down here as well. Again, no parking on the road. So we've got to be thoughtful about that and mind, be reasonable. People are going to need to park somewhere. It just is the way of the world. So let's focus on our tram network now, and we've got some things in store. We're going to transition from trams to the bike network, and so it's only fitting that we focus on some of our new assets that actually provide both. So we've got a number of new tram tracks, but my favorite of all of them are the 2-lane roads with median, tram tracks, and bicycle lanes. Now, one of the reasons I'm such a fan of these, first of all, it gets rid of the parking on the road. There are choices that you have to make in an urban environment. I like the idea of adding these tram tracks through here, losing parking, and still having bicycle facilities, because that would be the type of trade-off that you'd have to present. And it's realistic. It happens. So we're going to stop this here. I'm going to use this road here as a bike facility. Same thing here. So we'll convert both of these. And then right here in our pedestrian facility, this is now a transit mall. We'll convert this access road. The only purpose for this road here is to access our main loop. So as a policy, as the city is investing in this tram network, which is not inexpensive, they present the idea of a transit-oriented development ordinance. And the idea is basically that if a building is located within 4 units of this particular tram network, the density can be increased. It can be at least doubled. So if it's a single family home, you can have a duplex. If it's an apartment, you can have double the number of units, double the height. It is really, ooh. So this was mentioned in the comments, and I can't overlook it. This was a building that was reset, and as a result, it's leveling up. I like it, but not that much. There we go. Now that I've placed this, it'll be historical, and then we won't have that craziness. All right, anyway, so along here, this is actually a good example. We've got a 3-story building. This has 5 households. This would be eligible to have 10 households in a 6-story building. So that is one of the ways that we're going to take this city investment and do more with it. All right, now I want to look at our bike network before we place our tram tracks. And we're going to expand this, at least in this area, so we don't forget about it. And I love, again, we've always had to make trade-offs with the bike network, but I love these new ones. We're not taking on trees and making that trade-off, because that was always the argument that you had to have, or the choice you had to make with the bike network. Do you want trees or do you want bikes? Your call. And that's really not a great trade-off, in my opinion. So we've got a whole bunch of competing priorities, though. Even with this new update and the new DLC and the new add-on for the base game, we've got right here a bus network, right here a tram network, and this road is going to be our bike network. Let's get some trams rolling down our streets. And the idea here is going to be very simple. We want very frequent stops. We want synergy between our existing transit and the transit that we're replacing. And we want bi-directional service. So bi-directional meaning you could go in either direction to get to your destination, making it as easy as possible to get to where you need to go. So every 2 blocks or so, very frequent stops. And then in the case of both of these services, we're going to need to change the line color, and it's evergreen. So why don't we go dark green? So the best part of the new update, in my opinion, is that we have a whole bunch of new trams. And not only do we have new trams that are better looking, but they tell you the capacity, which is really special because we don't need a ton of capacity here, but someday we might. And the capacity varies. The default tram was always 90, which is a fair number for a tram vehicle. But one of the real special things about trams is you could always add a train car on and increase the capacity. So now we have that ability. And we're going to start out low here, 65, but we know that we could build all the way up to 140, which is pretty impressive capacity for city skylines if we wanted to. So we'll do that for both of these. And then I want to take a look at these vehicles. They're going to be coming right out of here. Let's see how they look. These are something else. So I know that there are a lot of great custom assets, but if you're playing on the Xbox or you just like a really vanilla build, this is special. These are really nice vehicles. They look good, and it's nice to have something different, a little more detailed, and just the model, you could tell there's a ton more detail and effort put into this one. So huge update, and this being free is absolutely outstanding. So there's something I never got called out for in the previous episode that I thought I still think is kind of funny. Over here in Couillard Shores, I built a local transit facility, a transfer facility. And here in Evergreen, I actually used our inner city facility as our local transit hub. That's not right. So basically everything coming out of here is a collector sort of route. So we talked about the concept of transit hierarchy in the previous one. So if the route between here and Couillard Shores was a collector, and then the routes pulsing from here are local routes, then everything I'm running from here is also a collector. Or I have local routes coming out of here. I just kind of blew up hierarchy and messed it up. So at some point we're going to need to fix that. That's probably not a today issue, but I think we're going to reserve this little triangle here to resolve that in the future. No, Phil from the past is wrong. We're going to handle this today. But for the time being, I want to focus on the bike network. And here's the idea. We want to attract tourists, and this is going to be a tourist first facility. And it'll probably improve and get better in the future. But we now have these beautiful one-way, 3-lane bike lane roads. This is overkill for our community. Let's just be totally honest. If we take a look at the traffic here, there's just no reasonable case that anyone can make for adding an extra lane to this. I mean, there's literally no vehicles using this. That said, things will change. And for the time being, we care about this as a tourist facility. So I'm going to upgrade all of these, add capacity that no one asked for, and we'll have bike lanes. There we go. Nice little loop. Doesn't really go anywhere, but it is it's a thing. I do think, let's try to get some benefit out of this. We're going to run our bike network. This is our bike facility. We'll run it down here, kind of to the end of this road here. We're not going to do much more with it for the time being, but it at least provides some benefit. If you were living back here, you could bike on this local facility, which we'll extend it here as well, and participate in the bike network. Now, up here, we're going to add some young lindens. All right, the next thing I want to do, we've made some significant modifications to these networks. There was a comment that talked a lot about my TMPE settings, and it made me realize I haven't changed them. So let's go into TMPE and take a look at things. And what we see is that, the normal settings, we have the simulation accuracy set to high. That's great. But then we go in here and I have not enabled more realistic parking, which I normally like to do. The enhanced vehicle AI, I like to do that as well. Prevent unnecessary transfers, always a good thing. Why don't we have some minor complaints so that we have some interesting driver behavior. And then in the policies, they can ignore the lane arrows and do what they've got to do. And that happens in real life too. And then there are a variety of other settings. I like this one. I've never tried this before. Assign realistic speed limits to roundabouts. We're going to try that. And everything else, I think we're just going to leave. So if there are any TMPE settings you think I'm neglecting, besides despawning, I'm going to be honest with you, playing without despawning on, to me, is it's playing with drivers first in mind. And I don't like it. It's not fun for me. So I'm just not going to play that way. But you could play that way. And that's one of the beautiful things about this game. It really allows for a variety of play styles. So we've got TMPE settings set. We've got our bike network done. And now I want to focus on the library. And we're going to place our library right here. In fact, we've got a number of city services that we need to focus on because we've been underdoing it in my estimation. But the library is the number one service, and we're going to place one right here. Again, parking right up front. I hate that. So we're going to get rid of this. And there are actually 3 different locations for parking spaces that you've got to get rid of. But now that I've done that, look what we can do. We can pull this thing really close. I'm going to Control H this down. We'll have to deal with the lumpies and bumpies a little bit. And we'll Control H the building to this intersection as well. But now we can really pull this building right up to the sidewalk. And by golly, that's really good. We'll replace some of the foliage on here as well. So we'll go into Bob again. And there's a spot for a bush. And we're just going to type in MP9 so we can replace these with some of our nicer bushes that came with the airports update. And actually, it's interesting. Maybe we want to make this a tree back here. And we take this and replace it with a bush. And then we take our alder and replace that with a jacaranda. There we go. Oh, that's so much nicer. Now, here's the thing. You can't just ignore parking. I don't want to throw in a huge parking lot, but I did add something to the build. The CPP basic parking lot from Verde Beach. I love this asset. It's very flexible, and I made it. So there we go. Love that. Love that a lot. There we go. Simple little touches, but I think you can take this vanilla asset and make it feel really special by adding some landscaping, taking the parking and making it your own. All right, now I want to move on to this park area because this is something that, as I requested feedback from you guys, you mentioned that you want this to be a really special place. So here's where Mayor Kara Begay comes in and says, all right, we're not developing this as a gigantic, we're not going to add a whole bunch of office space through here. We're going to make this a really special park. And to make it a special park, we're going to make it an edible park. So we're going to add a bunch of fruit trees through here. And the idea is that anyone from the community could come through here and eat the fruit. I am noticing one thing before we do this, more parking in odd places. So we're going to take care of this. So we'll again get rid of that parking. We're going to do one better here though. I'm going to take this down to a single brush size, and then we're going to just eliminate some of this. All right, we had to futz around with it a bit, but I think that it turned out really special, really special. And we can change the trees through here as well. There we go. Add some young lindens through there and make it look a little bit nicer. Now through here, we are going to go with some of our older trees. So this you might find this to be a little bit curious. So here's a couple of things. First of all, we've got this right here. It's a cherry tree. I know you can't tell, but we're going to add in some of these for sure. This would smell absolutely amazing. And then we'll add some apple trees along the outside. And then through the inside, we're going to have pears. Whew. So that took a little while, but I think sometimes it's helpful to manually place these things so that you can really control what you're up to. And that's what we've done here. Really controlled this. Now, this is a really special place. Now, the one thing I want to do that we haven't done is this is really an important place, and we are going to make it feel that way. So let's add in a statue. And there we go. We've placed that there, and that is looking good. Now that our LUT settings are better, you can really get a feeling for what the Federation's flag looks like, and holy cow, what a beautiful flag. Absolutely love it. We do need to add in another couple of flags though. So we've got a State of Superior flag, and then we will also go with some American flags as well with 54 stars. So really, really like this. Now I know I'm going to hear it in the comments if I don't do this. The American flag should always be higher than local flags. So we'll drop those down just slightly. And I think that we've done a good job here. Looking absolutely wonderful. So feeling good about that. So there's just a couple more things that we have to do, and it all involves more density. So we are almost at our next population milestone, but we're not quite there yet, and we're not going to get there without more building. So the first thing I want to do is take a look at our water pipes, because I remember not completely filling these in. So we're going to place some new water pipes underneath the road right where they belong. We've spent all of this time focusing on this, and I forgot to do one thing. I wanted to pedestrianize this and then add a parking lot for this particular area for the city hall. Right now we don't have it, and you can see that people are spilling out onto the streets. So this is a transit facility. If we take a look here, we've got a bus road right here. So we're going to take this and upgrade this to be a bus pedestrian facility, and then we'll pedestrianize this as well. Now, I know that this is probably a controversial decision, but I want to make sure that in our downtown area, again, we are fully prioritizing other modes of transportation outside of driving. Driving is not removed as an option, but it's not necessarily the most convenient one. And I think that that's okay. I think that downtowns are vibrant when they prioritize walking and biking and transit, and that's what we want here. You can see these parking lots are filling up now that we've removed parking in the downtown area. Really liking that. This is awesome. And if we look at street level, vibrant, absolutely vibrant. All right, so back to what we were doing, adding some density, and there's just a couple of spots that we're going to add it in. We're going to add in some of our tallest buildings that we've added so far right here, back along this road here, and in this little quadrant here. And remember, we're saving this for some sort of transit plaza in the future. Now, this is going to be a controversial development because we are going to build along this one-way road. So if you lived here, you'd need to basically take some U-turns, and parking there. We're gonna need to fix that. So let's go ahead and get building. I think we're gonna use this road as our template. Let's find a building that's gonna suit us well. Okay, I've gone back and forth on these, but here's what I'm thinking. So we are gonna go with something, it's not this order necessarily. I think we're gonna move this building. Truthfully, we could probably have a few different copies of that same building, but we're going to rotate this right here, take this building and pull it towards this little road that we've built. And then we'll rotate this one as well. Now I'm focusing all of the traffic that comes from these facilities on this little local road right here. And then we'll add some pedestrian connections back here to this parking, because we don't want any parking to occur in this area. So I think that this works well. Let's add in our pedestrian connections. And then we'll add in just a few trees to make this place really come to life. Okay, nothing all that extravagant, but just enough to make it feel like someone cares about this location. And here's where we're getting our density, and I think it feels good. You know, special towers, special places, and a purpose for this being tall. And that's the views. You get the bridge, all the ships coming in, the water, the park. This is a special location, and it has fairly robust transit service. Now, it's not direct, but it's pretty close. Now, I saw parking occurring on these little streets here. That was never the intention. So we are going to trim these up, have wide sidewalks through here so that folks aren't parking there. And then we will add another one of the CPP parking lots. You know, I almost wish that I would have put together a list of tags for our larger buildings. We are going to just focus these along this road. I don't love this, having this density along this road here, but it does happen. We'll go with it. We'll randomize these buildings a bit. Though the one thing I think we may do is give them a common color palette. So I've also tried to make sure that the design language of these is kind of similar. So none of the rounded, crazy stuff. So the city could mandate the color of the buildings through here. And I'm gonna go with lighter colored buildings. And the reason that we're doing this is to create a visual effect as someone were to come up here in a boat. So just giving it a little bit of thought there. Now back here, I think that there's a lot that you could decide to do. You know, obviously this could be additional density. What I think we're gonna do is maintain this as open space for these properties back here. And we'll try to level out some of this pavement. It's kind of weird the way it looks. We'll go through and remove some of the parking from these buildings. And the other thing I wanna do, I saw this advertisement here. I don't love that. We're just gonna get rid of that. And there we go. No more parking, no more billboards. So let's go ahead and add in some of our concrete. And I could have made these all 4x4s. I feel like this is another solution. The only thing that I think that we would want to do is make sure that all of the buildings are kind of fronting in a line. And I really dislike how much concrete there is around here. So we're gonna try to clean some of this up as well. So we'll just add in our own landscaping to try to green this up because it's pretty extreme. Okay, not the craziest design here, but I think it makes it a ton better. The very last thing I want to do is just add a couple of signature trees right up front to really make this place stand out. And maybe we'll even go with some of the same trees to make this feel like a cohesive development. And I feel like I underuse these eastern cottonwoods. So we're gonna place some of these. There we go. And this is by no means perfect, but it's a lot better. And I like the way this turned out. I think it's all right. Now over here, initially I was thinking, we'll just add additional density, but we don't have very many parks in this area and we're missing a few core city services. So I think that's what we're gonna focus on. The biggest concern is one that you guys should all be afraid of, and that's fire. So I'd love to add in some of our new Korean content creator pack fire stations here. I think that these look pretty nice. I do have a gripe. I will be fully transparent with that. My main gripe with this, first of all, the reason I like this is it looks a little bit more like the Plazas and Promenades Police Department. I dislike that when you place these assets right here, the fire department's huge and this is a reasonable size. Now that said, with the smaller footprint, you get fewer fire engines, which is fine. We've got a small town. So if we look here, this has a 5 fire engine capacity. If we take a look at our high capacity fire station, it's 40. That's way overkill. The cost would bleed the city dry in terms of finances. So that's one of the reasons that we're going with this. My main gripe is really the colors. They're kind of vibrant. Maybe that's the way I would put it. The blue here, it's just kind of washed out. But beyond that, they're really nice looking buildings. It's just the colors, it kind of reminds me of this billboard here. Some of it's probably on my LUT, but some of it is just the artistic choice here. But the overall design of the buildings is top notch and I really like it. And I'm really excited to have them in the build. We'll add in our pedestrian connection. It's not ideal to have the police officers walk this far, but they're fit, they can do it. And we will certainly appreciate their willingness to walk just a little ways. We're expecting it of the rest of the city services employees. And then here, we're gonna add just a small park. So a little dog park, and we're gonna have to forgive just a bit of imperfection here. So this is focused awkwardly on the parking lot right now. I will instead awkwardly face it on this tram road and then at least get most of the landscaping off from the sidewalks. So it's kind of a weird location, but I think it's plausible and it'll work just fine for us. And then along here, why don't we add just a couple of small commercial buildings. Okay, and these are all different colors, and some call that a design choice. I call it madness. We're gonna just copy and paste some colors. Much better. So we've got a little diner or some sort of meat market here, little place to pick up a newspaper and some seating out here. So I would imagine that this is the place where the cops come in the morning, get their cup of coffee, and yeah, it's a nice little place. It's a vibrant neighborhood. There's a mix of uses, a mix of things to do. We've got our safety buildings. We've got a really nice park, and we've got more to do in this area. But I do think this is the appropriate time to take inventory of what we've done and have a brief city tour. But I think right now is a good time to go through a couple of fixes, and we've already addressed one of them, and that was right here. I'm going to give 100% of the credit to John Connor. He pointed out that there was a concern with this building right here. There might be a couple of other buildings that I reset, and as I reset them, they lost their historical status, and as a result, they grow into some gigantic buildings. If you see any, let me know, and we'll give John credit for pointing out the first one. So thank you so much, John, for pointing that out. Now we've got a nice one of our little row homes again. And next I wanted to take Jonathan Kramer's comment, but I see that we're having power issues. We're going to have to resolve this soon. For the time being, we're going to do it in the hackiest way possible. We're just going to crank this up. And I'm looking, do we have loans? We have a loan still. Let's pay that back. We've got the money for it. So we're cranking our budget up to the rooftop, and we'll see if this covers us. No, we're not going to get by. So we are going to set a policy for the time being, and we're going to force everyone to conserve power in Evergreen. And now we are okay. So now we can move on to John Kramer's idea. And basically that was to look at our downtown and get rid of all of the on-street parking. Now, I talked about the importance of on-street parking to a downtown area, but I have some empathy for what John is saying. And I think we're going to change this for one simple reason. That's the amount of transit on this road has led us to really not having a lot of parking anyway. So these businesses would lobby hard and say this parking is absolutely invaluable to what we do, but we're providing free parking as a city behind here anyway. So I care more about the vibrancy of this area, and the wide sidewalks would allow for on-street cafes. So we're going to go for that. So if we wanted to get really crazy about this, we could come through here and add in some of these mid-century modern booths out front. Now, I believe because it has this little citizen marker here, this could be a spot where someone would sit. So I'm going to look for areas where it would make sense for that to occur and add in some seatings. We're going to say maybe this, I don't know what Jubilee is. We'll add in a couple of seating areas. And then over here, oh wow, we don't really have many areas. This, maybe? We'll add a couple. This is a comic shop, so and a haircutting place. So maybe not the highest priority. We're gonna add a couple anyway, just for our own benefit, just because it looks nice. It's gonna be interesting to see if I don't know. This asset says that people can spawn here and sit there. I've never seen it happen. If you've seen it happen, let me know in the comments, but I've never seen it happen. So I am very curious about that. Ooh, that lady just got hit by that van. You ought to be absolutely ashamed. And then we have a comment from Wayne. So I really like Wayne's idea here. The main part of Wayne's comment that I want to focus on is the avenue versus streets idea. So this is a concept that there have been a number of communities that I've been in that have focused on this. So what we're going to do is take all of our streets. So this is north. So all of our north-south streets will be streets, but all of our east-west streets will be avenues in Evergreen. I really like this idea. So instead of this being Maple Street, this is Maple Avenue. And we're gonna go right down the list. Okay, so I think I've got most of these now. And as a bonus, we've also fixed Semper Verde. We've got a couple of buildings that have abandoned here. And I'm curious as to why. Worker education. I think that we've resolved that. I'm gonna reset these buildings, which are all historical, and we'll see if that brings them back. And I want to know, do they retain their historical status? They do. Interesting. I'm not sure what happened with that one building. Anyway, we've gone through and we have all of these avenues renamed. Semper Verde now extends all the way through. Sorry about that in the previous one. And I've taken Miller Street and renamed it Miller Boulevard, at least in most of it. There's still apparently right here that I didn't. So the idea being that both Semper Verde and Miller are just special streets, and as a result, we're okay with that different naming convention. And before we leave, I feel like there's one more thing that I need to touch on, and that is the tram network. I never checked back in to see where things were at. So I did make one modification off camera. So if we take a look, I basically lowered our vehicle count. We were at 3. I took it down to 2. I thought 3 was totally overkill. And I think that this is more suitable. Now the ridership is bad. We're going to fix this, and I think it's going to be fairly simple. Here, it's the exact same story. Took it down to 2. And again, I think maybe we'll just do this really quickly. So I'm going to go ahead and add in our little tram or our little bus station over here. Okay, so we've made a little transit center very similar to the one in Couillard Shores, and now we're going to modify our bus routes just a little bit. So the reason this is important is it's going to feed people from this area straight into our tram network. So the very first thing that we're going to do is make a new route. We'll start that route here, go straight into this facility, and we will add a stop right there. And then right here. So this is our main connection between this community and the inner city terminal. And then we've got this. We'll get rid of this yellow one here. And now our routes must have some sort of connection down here. So rather than looping down in this area, I'm going to pull this and meet up here. So it will be a bit of a circuitous route if we don't modify things a bit. There we go. So we've modified that route to take advantage of this service area. Now I'm going to sever the blue and the purple connections as well. And we'll start here with our purple, and you can see it's looping around here. It's kind of weird. We'll just sever this here, and now it's a little bit more natural of a loop. And I think we're good there. Truthfully, everything happening here is a little bit extra. We can simplify this route a bit. And then rather than stopping here, we'll just again send this into our little transit service center. There we go. And then we've got the route going in the opposite direction, and we need to make sure that it is as well. Then I'm going to turn the rest of these on to see if we have any more of that circulation pattern going on. And we do not, which means that we have completely transformed the transit network through here. Now, the consequence of this is going to be that this blue route, we're going to name this Evergreen Intercity. That route is going to be very busy, I would assume. So if we take a look at this right now, 300 people waiting right here. So we're going to need to change this. This should have the articulated bus with the high capacity. So we are going to go and add our 80 capacity articulated bus. And when we take a look at this again for 20-ish, for 30, for 40, we'll take this down to 5 vehicles, and hopefully that does the trick for us. maybe 7. So that should at least get us clearing out here. Woo! We have some queuing here. So we've got some work to do. And most of it appears to be our inner city line. And the nice thing is, as soon as these 80 passengers come, they're all going to clear. It's going to fill back up, and this should go. So I'm going to let this go for just a second and see if this clears out. Okay, and you see it didn't take long to clear out the queue here, and now folks are focused on other routes. So if we're looking at our routes here in Evergreen, we've got this downtown route, and I think for the most part we're okay. And then for our counterclockwise route, similar story, probably too much capacity on this one. And I want to see what this has done to our tram network. We've got some more utilization. If we threw some more trams at this, we'd be okay. But ultimately what this has done is made this transfer opportunity much more attractive. And we'll look in the opposite direction as well. Not much better there. We could probably get away. No, I know in reality you need bi-directional service. In city skylines, pretty okay with service going in one direction, but I like it to feel a little bit more real than that. But we're in a good spot right now, and as a result, I think we're gonna leave it here. But I do, if you stuck with me through all of this, I want you to do one more thing. I want you to leave a comment with the phrase connectivity and provide a name for either the park or even the dog park. We still didn't get a name for this park as well. So if you leave the word connectivity and a name for the public library or this park right here, I will certainly incorporate that into the build. And I hope that you've enjoyed this. Power. Oh boy, power issues. And I think I'm tapped out of options, short of one, which is to turn our power utilization policy on for the entire region for the time being. Obviously, this is the first thing we must address in the next one. But for now, we're going to leave it here. And I hope that you've enjoyed this. If you did, please hit the like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. And I cannot wait to see you in the next one. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care. Bye-bye.